to strike down Hector, to Apollo aiding Paris in killing Achilles by directing his arrow to Achilles' vulnerable heel. The involvement of the gods added another layer of complexity to the war, as the mortals on both sides were often mere pawns in the divine struggle for power and influence. The war was, in many ways, a reflection of the gods' own conflicts and rivalries, with the mortals bearing the consequences. This interplay between the divine and human realms gave the Trojan War a mythic dimension, elevating it from a simple military conflict to a grand cosmic drama.
The victims of the Khmer Rouge genocide. The Khmer Rouge genocide, 1975 to 1979, was one of the greatest humanitarian disasters of the 20th century, claiming the lives of approximately 1.7 to 2.2 million people under the leadership of Pol Pot and the Communist Party of Kampuchea. The regime massacred and inflicted suffering on countless Cambodian citizens, including different strata of the population. The victims of this genocide included various groups of people, ranging from farmers, intellectuals, city dwellers, to ethnic and religious minorities. To fully understand the scope of the genocide, it's important to examine each group of victims and the horrors they endured. The urban population as victims. One of the largest groups of victims of the Khmer Rouge genocide was the urban population. Shortly after capturing Phnom Penh, the capital, on April 17, 1975, the Khmer Rouge initiated one of the largest forced evacuations in history. Millions of city dwellers were forced to leave their homes, belongings, and everything they owned to relocate to rural areas, where they were compelled to work in labor camps. Many died on the way due to exhaustion, starvation, and disease. The Khmer Rouge viewed city dwellers as enemies of the revolution because they believed that cities were breeding grounds for intellectuals and those influenced by Western culture, which, according to Pol Pot, was the root of capitalism and corruption. People who had worked for the previous government, the military, police, or in professions such as teachers, doctors, and engineers were marked for elimination. Those who could not prove they had a peasant background were at risk of being executed. Intellectuals and educated individuals as victims. Under the Khmer Rouge, intellectuals and the highly educated were considered the greatest threat to the revolution. Having attended university, being literate, or even something as simple as wearing glasses could lead to one's execution, as these were seen as signs of being an intellectual. People working in fields such as healthcare, education, law, and public administration were prime targets for purges, as the Khmer Rouge believed they were poisoned by capitalist and Western ideas. Tuol Sleng S-21, a detention and torture center in Phnom Penh, became infamous as the place where intellectuals and other enemies of the revolution were imprisoned and executed. Thousands of people were tortured to extract confessions for crimes they did not commit, and then taken to execution. Only about 12 people out of thousands imprisoned at S-21 survived. Farmers and laborers as victims. Although the Khmer Rouge claimed to represent the peasantry in reality, many farmers and laborers also became victims of the genocide. Pol Pot's extreme agricultural policies, which included forcing a massive increase in agricultural production, plunged millions of farmers into hardship. State-controlled agricultural cooperatives required people to work under brutal conditions, with very little food and no medical care. Policies like the abolition of money, the eradication of free markets, and total control over agricultural production led to widespread food shortages. Famine swept across Cambodia, killing hundreds of thousands from starvation, disease, and overwork. Many farmers, despite living in rural areas that the Khmer Rouge glorified as the model for the new society, endured unimaginable suffering. Children as victims. Children were not spared from the brutality of the Khmer Rouge. Thousands were forcibly separated from their families and sent to camps where they were trained to become revolutionary soldiers. In these camps, children were indoctrinated and coerced into denouncing their parents or relatives if they were suspected of being anti-revolutionary. Many children were tricked or forced into becoming executioners, participating in the killings of innocent people. In addition, hundreds of thousands of children died from starvation, disease, and forced labor due to malnutrition and a lack of medical care. Many children died before reaching adulthood. Those who survived had to witness the horrific scenes of their parents, siblings, or friends being murdered. Ethnic minorities as victims. Along with the Cambodian population, ethnic minorities living in the country were also targeted during the genocide. The Khmer Rouge implemented a policy of forced assimilation against minority groups, especially the Cham Muslims, Vietnamese, and Chinese Cambodians. Cham Muslims were forced to abandon their religion, mosques were destroyed, and practicing their faith was forbidden. Many Cham were forced to work in labor camps like their Cambodian counterparts, but they also faced additional persecution for their cultural and religious differences. Thank you for watching the whole video. If you find it interesting, please give me a like and subscribe to the channel.